T-minus 10 minutes. T-minus 9 minutes. T-minus 8 minutes. T-minus 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes. minus 5 minutes. Minus for minutes. Minus 3 minutes. Minus 2 minutes. Minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. Coming at you live on the Game Plus Television Network. A very big day. Our good friend, Vegas Golden Knights broadcaster and Stanley Cup champion Shane Hnidy is going to be with us coming up in hour 2. Mitchell's Scruffy Blair joins us in hour 1. And I can tell you, not only are we on Game Plus, but we're on YouTube Live Podcast and 1700 Mission Radio. And as we bring in Scruffy, I can tell you this, Scruff Dog, the viewers are feisty today. Not in a bad way, but we got a lot to talk about in sports coming out of the weekend. I'll say you've clearly survived the weekend because you're here. Are you ready to talk some sports? And if so, what's on your mind?
Let's go. A lot of things to talk about this week.
He says, let's go, so let's go. The big story, mine's going to be a little different than yours, Mitch. Yours is going to be baseball, I know, but mine is football and the Sunday night game. Brandon Aubrey and Brandon McManus traded short field goals in overtime, and Micah Parsons' highly anticipated return to Dallas ended with the Cowboys and Packers sawing off a 40-40 tie at AT&T Stadium. Amid all the games on Sunday, that was the Sunday nighter. I sat there, went to bed after midnight going, why did I stay up for that? And if it wasn't my Cowboys, I would not have. But the Sunday nighter to me came off as a big nothing burger. And I heard from people that were there in Dallas going, fans were walking out of the stadium not knowing whether to cheer, whether to be angry or not. Neither Jerry Jones nor Micah Parsons got any vindication at all. A 40-40 tie. What a for Sunday Night Football. Did we lose him? Hey, Mitch, what's up? Why can't you hear us,
I sure
Mitch?
can.
Okay, So what did you think of Sunday Night Football?
No, I can't. I'm going to refresh. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm going to refresh.
Okay, producer Corey says he can hear you just fine. So, Mitch, I don't know. I assume you guys were talking before the show. I'm not sure. Listen, you hold up your hand if you're ready to go, okay, Mitch? But here's one thing that I heard this morning, and I guess if I have to turn this over to the viewers, I will. Okay, so you're ready. Okay, what do you have for thoughts on Sunday Night Football?
Just a tremendous football game and just a crazy football game. I forgot about the NFL overtime rules, how they had changed so that each team gets a possession now. And when Green Bay said that they wanted to give Dallas the ball first, I was, what do you clicked on me? Oh, yeah, right. They changed that this year. So that was a great football game. I don't know what Green Bay was thinking in the last 10 seconds by running a play, but it all worked out for them, though.
Yeah, well, in terms of escaping without a loss. But here's one thing about the overtime. I'm glad that you brought that up because they did change it this year so that it's not sudden death. Each team gets a possession. However, Chris Sims said this morning on Pro Football Talk or NBC Sports Radio, whichever one it was, show that he was on. He goes, the Cowboys had the ball for 6 minutes in overtime. That's how long their drive was. And the Packers only had it for 4. And that's unfair. And I'm sitting there like I'm not a football guy like you and certainly not Chris Sims, but it goes back to then stop them from mounting a 6-minute drive. But is that the thing now, that this is unfair, that they don't have equal time in overtime?
Yep.
You heard it too?
I agree with you. I think that, play your 10, and if a team runs a 15-minute drive that takes 9 minutes off the clock, so be it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why or what they have against the CFL and their rules. I mean, the CFL adopted their overtime rules from college. Did they not? Scrimmaging from the 35-yard line. Why is that a problem? Why is that a swear word to the National Football League? Because it works just fine in the CFL. Now, that's been tweaked over the years, too. You score a touchdown in overtime, you have to go for 2. But that's the perfect overtime, what the CFL has. Why won't the NFL do that?
I have no idea. And you know my thoughts on CFL overtime. I think that they start a little too close. I would like to see them start at, I guess, won't be that way coming up, but I'd like to see them start at the 5 and earn themselves a couple rounds before you get a full opportunity. But that's that'll be interesting to see change that once the new rules come in, or once the new field and everything too.
I believe you and producer Corey have each other's contact info. So when we go to the first commercial break here, I want you guys to just talk about how you can fix your feed, because it was perfect the last couple times last week, but this week is very choppy and not. So as we move along to point 2 of the quick 6 show topics, and trust me, everybody, we're going to get to the CFL and the NHL as well, but Major League Baseball's postseason is about to start with some spicy wild card series matchups. The American League features a classic rivalry between the Red Sox and Yankees with all games at Yankee Stadium. The Detroit Tigers face the Cleveland Guardians, seeking revenge after losing a big lead in September. And over in the National League, the Dodgers host the Reds while the Padres take on your Cubs. And the Blue Jays, along with the Mariners, Brewers, and Phillies, all have earned byes to the division series. I said last week, Mitch, when the Jays were in a swoon, you won't even remember this once they clinch the pennant and get into the playoffs, and here they are. What's your excitement level 1 to 10 on the Major League Baseball playoffs, given the fact that your team is in the Cubbies?
I think this is going to be a tremendous playoffs. You can make arguments for all 12 why they can win. I know a lot of people still think that the 2 highest payrolls, the Dodgers and the Yankees, are at the end. I can understand that. But in a best of 3, these first round series, and you know this, Rod, from being in the Western Major Baseball League with playoffs, all you need is that opening game and a great pitching performance, and all of a sudden you've got guys behind the 8 ball. So with Hunter Green going for the Cincinnati Reds in Game 1 tomorrow night, I would happen if I'm a Dodger fan.
Well, as our great friend Greg Zahn said, forget about the rotation. You only need 3 now this time of year to win a World Series, and he did it with the Marlins. So the Blue Jays got there. They got their pennant. All that hand-wringing last week was for naught. And look at the markets. New York, Boston, the Dodgers, Canada's represented. Your Cubs, to be honest, it may be the greatest field of all time, and it all gets rolling tomorrow. Everybody, we're brought to you in part by Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon, Pump Jack's Cathedral, and Pump Jack's Weyburn. Come early, stay late at the place where your friends meet. We'll be coming right back. This is the day that we're going to Las Vegas television in hour 2, the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. That's when we'll be joined by Shane Hnidy of the Vegas Golden Knights. Until then, you're watching on Game Plus Television, YouTube Live, of course, podcast, and 1700 AM Mission Radio.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon
and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Nazareth's Canadian Farewell Tour is coming to Moose Jaw. Live at Temple Garden Center, October 17th. With special guest, Lee Aaron. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or sasktix.ca.
Welcome back, everybody. Should mention, we'd like to do the Junior Hockey Report for the Mad Greek. From classic to loaded, pizza night starts at the Mad Greek Eatery. Order online, pick up, or dine in at themadgreekeatery.com. How about those Moose Jaw Warriors? Not only are they 3-0, Scruffy, atop the Eastern Conference, along with the PA Raiders, a league-leading 21 goals scored, including 6 on Saturday night in a big victory over the Swift Current Broncos. So there you go with your Junior Hockey Report, specifically the Warriors for the Mad Greek. Okay, as we roll in, this is why many people came here today. Point 3, the Quick Six Show topics. In the Canadian Football League, Friday night doubleheader. Montreal had their way with Calgary 38-20 at Molson McGill Stadium. The Stampeders have lost 3 in a row. BC knocked off Toronto 27-22 under the orange top in BC. Saturday, reports of the Blue Bombers' demise were greatly premature. Mitchell. Zach Caleros returned and led Winnipeg to a 40-3 romp over Hamilton. And then the Saskatchewan-Edmonton game at Commonwealth went right down to the very last play. What a bang! And come out, upset the Rough Riders 27-25. Quite the ending to Week 17, huh?
Yeah, that was a great comeback by the Riders that fell just a short. They're concerned in Rider Nation. I can understand that, but they're still in pretty good shape. But the BC Lions and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are raising their game right now. The Saskatchewan Roughriders aren't. And that's something they've got to get tightened up. And they've also tightened up their pass defense because, oh my goodness, it was sad on Saturday night. The D-line came to play, unlike the Montreal game. Cody Fajardo still was able to make some passes out there and find wide open receivers all over the field. And, again, Tavon Campbell didn't play, but Marcus Sales was back. But they've got to do a better job in tightening up the pass defense, or else they are going to get bit in the you-know-what come the Western Final or the West Semi if they can't hang on to first.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your comments in the YouTube chat or the Western Dodge text line, 902-518-3033. John Ohm is writing in from Winnipeg. He says, Zach is back. Wow. Janice, the Stamps fan in Edmonton, says, good morning, everyone. Great tributes to Larry at the Elks game on Saturday. Stampeders better start winning. Yeah, they dedicated that victory to Larry Thompson, the owner of the Elks who passed away last week. And how nice is it that they were able to pay tribute to him with a victory? I mean, Mitch, Who honestly thought Edmonton was going to win that game? Not anybody that didn't have a 780 area code.
You know what, Rod? The way that the Elks have played the last month and a half one-score games, I thought for the 4.5 point spread, I just don't think Edmonton would be. They started Cody Fajardo in week 1 and not Trey Ford, because they would be right in the thick of it as far as I'm concerned. Because Cody Fajardo center in that game in Saskatchewan here last month, they've been a lot better football team.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of CFL fans that have showed up here today, including BW from Edmonton. He says, Edmonton fans are saying, Trey who? Ken Austin said it, that it's a marathon, not a sprint. He's not the first coach to say that, Mitch, but 18 games is a very long time. And anybody that wants to do a victory lap after the opening 6 or the opening 9 or the opening 12, go ahead. But now you talked about that there's mild panic in Riderville with the Rough Riders having lost back-to-back games. These next, 4 weeks that are left are going to be absolutely spine-tingling because you get the Rough Riders there at 10-4. They could have clinched second place with a win on Saturday, and they blew it. 3 teams are tied for second place, all with 8 wins. And then you got the Elkamos that just won't go away with 6. I mean, we are adding up to an absolutely unbelievable ending. But take me a little deeper into Riderville, which, by the way, Rider fans, don't DM me outside show hours about Rider concerns. Stop it. You want to watch this show and write in on the Western Dodge text line, go ahead, 902-518-3033, or the YouTube chat. I'm not answering your questions about the Riders on a weekend. I'm not. But they are asking, one guy specifically, if they should go make a trade for Lewis Ward, the kicker for Ottawa, because Ottawa's clearly selling off parts. Looks like they're, going into rebuild again in Ottawa. And Brett Lauther missed 2 more field goals on Saturday. And I was actually thinking about this at the gym this morning, Mitch, that they have afforded Brett Lauther enough goodwill. He can't be missing field goals anymore. But I don't think Ottawa's going to trade Lewis Ward. He's the most reliable kicker in the league.
Yeah, I can't see that. Let's remember, when I realized that 50-plus yard field becoming more a norm, but that was a 50-yard field goal that Lauther missed. Well, that doesn't excuse the other one that he missed from, what was it, the 40 yard. Just go back a little bit on that, because somebody's going to make 50-plus yard field goals.
Well, he hadn't missed one for 3 games going into the weekend, but they're at a point now where, trust me, I know, as a guy who's called a couple of championship games myself with the Rough Riders and lost some with the Pats and the Rough Riders, to win a championship, you need every single thing to go right on the field and off, right? Injuries, football gods, you can't be missing field goals. I think they're at a point now. I don't know if he needs to be perfect or not, Mitch, but there's guys in the NFL making real long field goals. And Brett, we all along in his career, I think we've all thought he was NFL caliber. Did we not? We could never quite figure out why he never got an NFL opportunity. I can see why the Rider fans would be worried about that. But what do you do at this stage of the game?
Well, great question. I know they brought in Campbell Fair a couple of ago. And I don't know if he's still in the practice roster, to tell you the truth. But that's a tough one, because you're now at 4 games into the season. And yes, Brett Lauther could end up having a strong end to the season, did last year, or he could miss a couple of field goals in a playoff, cost them a victory. Kickers rod. It doesn't matter if you're the NCAA, NFL, U Sports, the CFL, kickers. You hope that they'll do it, but never sure.
Well, you certainly are grateful for the ones that you have when they're reliable. And for whatever reason, Brett Lauther has had his struggles this year. As you say, they were long ones that he missed on the weekend, but you'd kind of like to have that faith in your kicker that he's going to make one when it's needed. From the YouTube chat, Motorhead writes in, he says, my Ticats got beat on all three facets of the game. I hope we can regroup at home. Chief Johnny Moe writes in from Winnipeg, and he says, Rod, are we working tomorrow? Are we going to do some work today? Johnny Moe, can you try to be less weird with your comments? I have no idea what you're talking about. We're working every day over here. Scott in Vancouver writes in and says, some kickers are hitting over 60 now. 50 is becoming commonplace. It's unbelievable. And well, we're seeing that in the NFL as well, by the way. The long field goals. What's going on with Brett Lauther? I have absolutely no idea. And that's what we're talking about here right now is how long do the Riders let this go on? As you say, they brought in a rookie, but I mean, so what? They're at a point. You're not putting that guy into a game in crunch time. Let me check in from the audience as Mitchell's internet is wonky today. I'll let you and producer Corey talk about that. Rob writes in from Windthorst on the Western Dodge text line. He says, I wore my green and gold Edmonton Elks gear to the rink yesterday. Expected a few comments, but it was all silence. It's a shame they lost those 2 games in Ontario, or the West would be even wilder than it is. Throughout history, the Riders always seem to lose the games they're supposed to win. Kirk from Toronto writes in. He says, hey, Rod, as some fans have noted after the Bombers Ticats game on Saturday, there were no goalposts harmed, and the 110 yards were used to great effect. How about that? Haven't really talked to you. I know I haven't talked to you at all since we had the commissioner on last week. He legitimately, Mitch, seemed shocked at the vitriol that's come from the fan base over the rule changes and field changes. I can't believe that he would be shocked by that as a lifelong CFL guy, Stuart Johnston, like he is.
Well, yeah. I think there are people that are coming out of the work that haven't been to a CFL game or watched a CFL game now want to defend the CFL. If people were supporting the CFL and going to games, I don't think the CFL would have many problems off the field. But it doesn't matter if it's BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario. There are a lot of people going crazy right now.
What's your cat's name, Mitch?
Smokey.
Smokey wants to be a star today.
I can see that. He's got something up in the window there, so.
Woohoo! Gary writes in from Winnipeg on the Western Dodge text line, 902-518-3033. If the 2025 Blue Jays had a tribute song in the playoffs, it should be Ringo Starr's It Don't Come Easy. Signed Gary from Winnipeg, the old fart. Devin from Burns Lake, BC writes
this
in.
Morning,
Go ahead.
this morning, the Blue Jays put out something on their social media. They adopted the song I Want It All, which I think we saw in the NHL as well. So I know we'll see.
Next commercial break, restart your computer or something, but do me a favor and don't jump in when your internet is that choppy as I'm reading these. And I need to ask the viewers, that should have been the poll question, by the way. It dawned on me last night as I was watching the Sunday Night Football game with my friends Brent and Bree in Wellington, Florida. Oh, this will be a good poll question tomorrow. Is Bad Bunny a good choice for the halftime show for the Super Bowl? I've never heard of Bad Bunny. And am I somehow missing, Mitch, something that I've never heard of Bad Bunny? Have you?
Bad Bunny, Rod, beat me in Priest at a WWE SummerSlam a couple of years ago. After that, that's all I've got for you.
Bad Bunny is a singer or a pro wrestler? I missed something in that.
he was both. Like, Lee Roll here a couple of weeks ago, he got in the ring. The latest to get in the ring. He had a WWE for about 6 to 8 months, and now he's back to singing.
Well, if you go to my Instagram, our show Instagram, at The Rod Peterson Show, I've got a poll up there. I put it up last night. Should I know who Bad Bunny is? Like 73% said no, you shouldn't. But some, like Jeff Armstead, said, yes, you should. And I don't mind saying that I'm at a point in like, if Mitch, you're a little older than me, you know who he is. So this is a me thing. Certainly not a Bad Bunny thing. But I'm not into pro wrestling.
I just know who he is because of pro wrestling.
Okay.
I just know who he is because of pro wrestling.
Well, that's why it's a good thing that Pat McAfee does pro wrestling. That's millions of other fans that Pat McAfee exposes himself to, and Bad Bunny as well, but I'm not into that. Anyways, one more segment with Scruffy. Shane Hnidy coming up in hour 2 here on Game Plus TV.
Country's hottest party is coming. James Barker Band, Bud Light Buckle Up Tour 2025. Live across Canada with special guests Ryan and Rory. November 20th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. James Barker Band Live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Welcome back, everybody. We're brought to you in part by Outlaw Communications, where creativity isn't a hobby, it's a way of life. From strategic communications to leadership training and conversational content, we help your message connect and inspire. I want to get to the National Hockey League, but I'm going to tell you this, we're going to do way more of that next hour. Shane Hnidy will be joining us from the Vegas Golden Knights broadcast crew. And it is our debut, hour 2 only, daily on Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network in Las Vegas. Hour 1 here, gratefully on Game Plus across Canada and 32 U.S. states. And while the CFL fans, I don't mind. You want to come here in hour 1 every day, go ahead, and we'll have the biggest CFL chat ever. That will not continue into hour 2. So let's get it all out. John in Calgary has written in with a super chat. He's paid $5, Mitchell, to say this and have us read his comment. He says, CFL end zones should be bigger. 12 players need more room to get open. Want more touchdowns? Open things up. KO getting out the back, kick out getting out the back could be 100 yards, 1 point. Okay, John, maybe you're not paying attention to what's going on. Not only are they not going to get bigger, they're getting smaller, okay, to 15-yard end zones. And that reminds me, Vintage Sasko writes in, Mitch, on the Western Dodge text line, and he says, hi, Father Rod. I'm getting more excited about these CFL rule changes. I'm also agreeing 99% of what Mitch and Smokey are saying on the CFL drama. Now let's get a team in Mexico. Signed, Vintage Sasko, El Sasko. I'm sure everywhere you went all weekend, it was talk of the CFL rule changes.
Oh, it's been like since this time ago when they got announced. Went out Monday afternoon and I was interrupted, accosted, whatever, by 5 different people while out, because everybody has an opinion on it, Rod. Whether it be the right opinion, the wrong opinion, it's their opinion. And there are some that love this, as you know. There are some that hate this. Have to see how this goes. I'm hearing things off. I don't know if there's any credence to them, but if there is, it might answer the question as to why.
Say it. What is it? Spill it.
I can't right now because I'm trying to sort of get more emotional.
Okay. 902-518-3033 is the Western Dodge. Scruffy's holding out on us today. Scruffy's holding out on us. Okay, I do want to say this because you are a hockey guy. Point 4, the quick 6 show topics. Leon Draisaitl had 2 goals and 2 assists as the Edmonton Oilers beat the visiting Vancouver Canucks 4-3. Connor McDavid had a goal and 2 assists for the Oilers, while Trent Frederick had a goal and an assist. Stephen Halliday scored on the power play, and Oli Licksell scored into an empty net as the Ottawa Senators defeated the New Jersey Devils 2-0 in NHL preseason play Sunday at the Videotron Center. I'm very excited. I got NHL preseason play to go to tonight. Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. There's a huge pall over the Baptist Health Iceplex. That's where the Panthers skate and practice, Mitch, over the injury to Sasha Barkov, potentially for the year. All I will say this: I don't want to upset the Panthers at all because they've been so good to me, and was with them all day on Saturday. But I'm sure the Oilers aren't feeling bad at all that Barkov's out for the whole year. How did you feel as the resident Oilers fan when you saw that news, or did you care at all?
Roddy, when the playoffs hit, that's when everything's going. The Florida Panthers now do not have Matthew Tkachuk and Alexander Barkov, so that's going to make life for them as they try to make it 3 in a row, because we start the season and 2 of their key players are already down. Say what you want about Brad Marchand, and he's a guy that I think I would have on my team if I could, but he is getting older. We'll have to see where he goes. And it's going to grow for the Panthers, but they're going to be right there in that division with the Leafs, the Canadiens, the Lightning. It's not easy for the injury to Sasha Barkov. Hurts them a lot. And it's going to put more pressure on Matthew Tkachuk when he's back.
Well, they're going to have to win their divisional games. Every team says that, but you're right about that division. Ottawa and Montreal are going to be better. Tampa and Toronto are going to be very good. But all they got to do is make the playoffs. And with the wonders of today's recovery in 2025, I'd be shocked if Barkov is out for the entire season and missing the playoffs. I got to ask you this. Point 5, it's a big deal when people are writing me about golf. Rory McIlroy helped Europe win the Ryder Cup Sunday and then called out the hostile New York crowd for, quote, unacceptable and abusive behavior. Over his 5 matches at Bethpage Black, McIlroy endured a torrent of insults about everything from his personal life to past failures on the golf course. People shouted as he lined up to swing and putt. Someone threw a beer at his wife. He noted that the hecklers were a minority in a crowd of true golf fans. We've all seen the video of him walking on the green going, F you, F you, F you. This might actually get me watching golf now. I've always had a problem with the golfers, everybody's got to be quiet. Yet a kicker, the whole stadium's going nuts trying to line up a field goal, or some guy's trying to make a free throw shot, and the whole arena's going crazy trying to distract him. What did you think of the Rory McIlroy display on Sunday?
I thought the fans were a little over the top, but it's New York. You don't see that happen at the U.S. Open, the British Open. But obviously, though, when you've got the U.S. involved, you've got a patriotism, and it spilled over. And it was ugly. Is this something that you're going to see on the PGA Tour, like going with Scotty Scheffler? Are you going to see fans ripping into Rory? No, you won't. I think this is that the Ryder, you have holes like the 16th minute. It was a one-off, but I also think fans went a little too far.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You emailed me on Saturday and said enjoy the Ryder Cup, and I got the tongue-in-cheek in that. You knew that I wouldn't be watching 1 second of it, and I wasn't. But the thing is, I've had 2 of my close friends here this morning text me about it. So I had to go look it up. My God, there are enough things going on. I love that everybody's into this Ryder Cup thing, but I was full on football. I don't know how we all have the time or the cranial space, to be perfectly honest with you. But I'm like, this is Happy Gilmore stuff. I love it. And of course, one of my friends was from, one of my friends is from New York. And he's like, New York is always embarrassing themselves. And I'm like, I don't know. I just always had the problem with the fact that you're supposed to be quiet. You got these guys all boozed up all day. What do you think's going to happen? I went to the Valspar Open in Tampa Bay last spring. Everybody's getting pissed. What do you think is going to happen? Especially in New York. And for whatever reason, Mitch, people don't like Rory McIlroy, right? This is USA versus Europe. What did they think was going to happen?
Well, McIlroy is the face of golf in Europe. And, he's done some things that have really gotten him. He's very lost a turn of 4. They hand out the trophy. He's already in the parking lot, and you can see the skid marks in the parking lot from the car leaving. And he doesn't. He wins the Masters, and he'll talk to everybody. But he has a 3 over. I don't talk to anybody. Like you choose.
I'm going to stop you, Mitch. Scruffy will be back tomorrow, and I promise with better internet. Rob from Windthorst writes in regarding your cat. He says Smokey is looking for the bandit, and I hope by tomorrow he finds the bandit. But this is what I don't understand, and this is probably what I'll be thinking about the rest of the day and when I lay my head down at night tonight. Why do people think that they can do whatever they want and be irresponsible for the actions or unresponsive to the actions? All those things you said about Rory, of course he's going to be a villain. And I think of the things that people say, and they just think they can get away with them. Life does not work that way. And I'm Exhibit A. Well, you don't see me shooting my mouth off anymore. At least Not to the degree that I used to. Okay, great job, Scruffy. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll be right back after this here on Game Plus Television.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, everybody, as we get back into it, we got a sports update coming up for the Ultimate Fan Zone. Collectors, listen up. Hockey cards, autographs, and fan memorabilia, all at Ultimate Fan Zone. Don't wait. Shop ultimatefanzone.ca. You can get a lot of the stuff that you're seeing right now at Ultimate Fan Zone. I'll tell you, it's you and me for the next 20 minutes, and then into hour two, the usual stuff. And then Shane Hnidy will be joining us, the color commentator of the Vegas Golden Knights, long-time friend of mine. I'm actually not going to get into it when Knights joins us in hour two, but just so you all know, when I was the voice of the Prince Albert Raiders at the age of 20, Shane Hnidy was played on the team. He was 17 and 18. And I remember being at a house party in PA, and here comes Knides, because you can't spell party without PA. Who remembered that 12-pack of pill stubbies on his shoulder? Shane, all the women. Ooh, he's like the Nikki Sixx of hockey. Just a very good-looking guy. And we've stayed friends through decades. And so why is Hnidy coming on? I mean, he's been on this show multiple times before, but an hour or two, we're going live to the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network for the first time ever until the end of time. And just so you know, I talked to the Golden Knights on Friday about a few things. And they said, hey, Rod, I said, we see you're going to be on television in Nevada beginning Monday. I said, yeah, we're all pretty excited about it. And he's like, so are we. How can we help? I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I see you've had Panthers on your show. You're living in Florida. Can we get some guys on from the Golden Knights? You going to come out here for some live shows? I'm like, yeah, sure. So it's all good. It's all exciting. And on the first day, I thought it would be a good thing to have Shane Hnidy on, our good friend from the Golden Knights broadcast crew. Anyways, we will always be the Blue Jays show. And they have a few days off after winning their first American League East Division title in 10 years. The Jays had 15 hits and a 13-4 win over the visiting Tampa Bay Rays Sunday. The Jays will face either the Red Sox or Yankees in the ALDS. That'll start Saturday in Toronto. The best of 3 wild card series all get underway Tuesday. 4 games. You know, we talk about how in the NFL wild card playoff weekend, and the NFL is the greatest weekend of the year for football. Tomorrow is the best day for baseball. In the American League, the Yankees host the Red Sox. The Tigers visit the Cleveland Guardians. In the National League, the San Diego Padres visit the Cubs, while the Dodgers host the Cincinnati Reds. And before I switch gears for a second, you know, on all the hand-wringing and everything that was going on with the Blue Jays fans last week when they were dipping against Boston, you'll remember who was the guy saying, none of you will remember this, when they pull it together this weekend and win the pennant and next year are in the playoffs. It was this guy right here, me. And it just reminds me of last year, the Panthers were on, I think, like a 5-game losing streak. And we were at a watch party at a place called the Yard House in downtown Boca Raton. And a good friend of mine, Rob, they call him Panther Muscle Fan. If you watch any of my social media, he's the guy that goes to the Panthers games in a padded muscle suit like Hulk Hogan looking. And he's like, oh my God, Rod. I'm freaking out. The Panthers have lost 5 in a row. I'm like, chill out, bro. Take that energy out of here, because I'm not going to be privy to it. They will be fine. And they went on to win the Stanley Cup. And it was a fun chat with Scruffy earlier on the injury to Barkov. Like, to be honest, when it was learned last week that he was going down, Brent from Wellington, Florida, texted me. He said, there goes the 3-peat. Nobody was saying that when Tkachuk got hurt. But when Barkov got hurt, that's what everybody's saying. Yeah. And I spent all day with the Panthers on Saturday, and that was the talk, that we got to find a way to rally around this. But they're just still gut punched with this injury to their captain. Anyway, there are 6 preseason games in tonight's NHL schedule, including one in Seattle where the Kraken host the Calgary Flames. The Flames have played 5 exhibition games and have 2 wins and 3 losses. The Kraken are 2-2, which is another thing. I saw a good friend, you might be watching right now, I'm not going to name him, but he says, I'm very encouraged by the way my team is playing in the preseason. You just can't be. You just can't be. Me, if you want to be, yeah, I like the optimism. I do. But do not go by that in any league. There are 2 NFL games tonight, including one in Miami, where the Dolphins host the Jets. Why am I laughing? Hang on, I'll tell you. Both teams 0-3. Elsewhere, the 2-1 Cincinnati Bengals visit the 1-2 Denver Broncos. That is our poll question today. What's going to be the better of the 2 games? Jets at Dolphins or Bengals at Broncos? It's a Monday night doubleheader. I was pulling into the parking lot, and my 2 neighbors, 2 of my neighbors, Harry and Ronnie, you're going to be hearing a lot about Harry and Ronnie. They were out visiting, and I stopped, rolled the window down. I'm like, hey, boys, what's going to happen with the Dolphins tonight? They both in unison yelled, who cares? So if anybody wants to know what the mood is around the Finns here in South Florida, that's it. People have checked out in week 4. And that is the sports update for UFZ Moose Jaw. I got to say, it's an inspiration to me, pardon the interruption with Wilbon and Kornheiser. Like, it's the longest running show on ESPN now. I think it's the longest running daytime sports talk show in America. And I'm like, how do those guys cover so many topics in less time? I'm still trying to master that. Now, they've been doing it for 30 years. I've been doing it for 7. But oh my God, that's an inspiration how much they get to in a short amount of time. I do want to get to the CFL talk because there won't be as much in hour 2. Ryan in upstate New York writes in, he says, good day, Rod Squad. I'm late to the party, but the trailer for the Netflix documentary, Who Killed the Montreal Expos, dropped today. I'm looking forward to watching it. A lot of people killed the Montreal. I lived it. Just like the Cowboys documentary. I don't need to watch it. I lived it. Rob in Vegas writes in, he says, what's the next step if the CFL changes don't translate to increased attendance and viewership in 2027? I believe an NFL North League is inevitable. It could include American teams in smaller cities. That's Rob in Las Vegas. Wayne in Victoria, BC says, I'm very curious to see if the changes made by the CFL increase scoring and make games more exciting. John writes in, he says, I like what Bob Irving said on CJOB this morning about the fans at the golf course this past weekend. They need to do IQ tests for fans. Then the stadiums would be empty. Like, what's the bar here? What high of IQ do you... No, I would far rather you need to pass an IQ test to get a Twitter account. 6? Corey's... You need an IQ of 6 to be a fan. That'll never happen. They drive me nuts too. And that's why I say don't write me outside show hours about if the Riders should trade for a kicker, because I'm not answering you. It's not my job anymore. I'll do it here, but I'm not going to do it on my own time. No. Kenny in Vancouver writes in and says, hey, Rod, my question for you is, do you think the Panthers will make a trade to bring in a veteran defenseman? I have no idea who would be available on the market for them to bring in. Clearly, you can't replace Barkov, but if you ask me, I think they should see who might be available. What do you think? Have a great day. Kenny in Vancouver writing in. Well, they already got Jeff Petrie, and he looks good. They signed him as a free agent. There's not a lot of new faces in the Panthers lineup. And to be honest, we'll carry this into hour 2 for sure, but I've been doing this Panthers show now and Panthers coverage for so long that Panthers fans are coming to me now for answers like that. And when Barkov went down, people are like, what are they going to do? And I'm like, well, I don't know. They don't need to do anything right now. And on Saturday, when I was at their news conferences, the general manager, Bill Zito, said exactly that. He's like, we got a few more preseason games to move some guys around and see who steps up. And in the absence of that, maybe we'll look outside the organization. But right now, we're going to see what we have inside. And let's not forget, there's still a very good team. Like Paul Maurice, Sam Reinhart is the captain. So don't worry about the leadership thing. They all love Barkey. He is the guy. But there's a lot of leaders there. And then Zito laughed about Brad Marchand. He's like, didn't it feel like he's been here forever? It's only been since March. And I think he meant that as a compliment, but Zito's a funny guy. Ron in Calgary writes, and he says, this is all going to, I'm going to save this for next hour, Ron. Here's a teaser, everybody. Here's what he said on the Western Dodge text line. He says, remember when I said a few months ago about the problems in Las Vegas? What do you think is going to happen with a new stadium and no people? Also, the Oilers as an organization are the worst organization in sports. Now they are cheating on the 50-50 draws. I don't know anything about that. I don't even want to talk about that. But the Vegas thing, as next hour, we go to the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network for the first time ever. I will address your question then, but not now. But I like the question. I'll say it again. I don't know how those guys on PTI get through more topics in less time. Allie in Texarkana writes in. She says, happy Monday, RPN Squad. Hey, Allie, glad to have you. Bomber Boy says, wait for the waiver wire. The Panthers got more scouts and really, really good ones than any team that I've seen. They'll survive this. They will survive this, but it's not going to be easy. Ryan in upstate New York says, I'm a New York Jets fan. Even I think the Broncos-Bengals is going to be a better game. That's a game that should be brought to you by Tums. Jets and Dolphins tonight. But having said that, the Panthers are home tonight to the Carolina Hurricanes, and there will be 3 of us there. We'll have lots of room. We'll be coming back with Hour 2 right after this here on Game Plus Television.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rod Peterson Show. For those of us that have been watching on the Game Plus Television Network, it is Hour 2. For those joining us for the very first time ever here on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, It is hour one. Welcome, everybody, to Daytime Sports Talk, coming your way on a variety of platforms. I'm your host, Rod Peterson. Get comfortable, make yourself at home, and get ready for a lot of fun sports talk here. Again, on Game Plus Television, we're in Season 7 there, episode number 1586, but episode number 1 here on the Silver State Sports Entertainment Network all across Nevada. We got a very special guest coming up in the second segment. Vegas Golden Knights color commentator Shane Hnidy, Stanley Cup champion with Boston Bruins. Here's what we do every day. The quick 6 show topics. And we ran through these an hour ago. We're going to run through them again. Number 1, we open with the big story. And yeah, I'm wearing a Toronto Blue Jays shirt, but that's going to hang on for a second. It's football around here today. Brandon Aubrey and Brandon McManus traded short field goals in overtime, and Micah Parsons' highly anticipated return to Dallas ended with the Cowboys and Packers sawing off a 40-40 tie on Sunday Night Football. Dak Prescott and Jordan Love had 3 touchdown passes apiece in regulation, which included 7 consecutive lead-changing touchdowns before McManus' tying 53-yard field goal as time expired. You know what? It was a pretty exciting football game. I'll tell you all right now that I am a Cowboys fan, dyed-in-the-wool Cowboys fan. It's the only team I've ever cheered for. And over time, as you get to know me and this show, yeah, you'll realize about the love-hate relationship I have with America's team, like just about everybody in the fan base. But that was a big nothing burger last night. All the build-up, all the pomp and circumstance, 1 month to the day after Micah Parsons was traded by the Dallas Cowboys to Green Bay, he waltzes back in, and it ends in a tie. There was no vindication. There was no bragging rights to be had for either Micah or Jared Jones. It's not anybody's fault. Very exciting football game. But the one interesting thing coming out of the game was this, the overtime rules. And I'm listening to Chris Sims this morning on NBC Sports NBC Sports Radio saying that the overtime's not fair in the NFL. I mean, they just changed it, as you know, so each team gets a possession. But he's like, well, the Cowboys had 6 minutes for a drive, and the Packers only had 4. And I should tell you that I've spent 20 seasons broadcasting games in the Canadian Football League for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, so I do know a little bit about pro ball. How about stopping them? What do you mean fair? Why does it always have to be fair? You could have stopped them to 3-0. It was a very bad day for the Packers defense. But anyways, the other game that we're paying attention to as far as the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network's concerned and our Nevada viewers, Josh Blackwell blocked a 54-yard field goal attempt by Daniel Carson in the final minute to preserve a fourth-quarter rally led by Caleb Williams, and the Chicago Bears stunned Las Vegas on Sunday. After DeAndre Swift's 2-yard touchdown run with 1:34 left put the Bears in front, Geno Smith led the Raiders into position for Carlson's kick with 38 seconds to go. You all watched it. Blackwell came in nearly untouched from the left side, dove and deflected the ball. He raced down the field in celebration as his teammates chased him. And the Raiders have now lost 3 straight. It was only week 4, but I think we're all sitting here kind of perking up going, what is with the Chicago Bears? Yeah, I know. A lot of the viewers are going to be sitting here looking at it from a Raiders perspective. Like, we lost to the Bears? Well, that's a Bears team that just beat clearly a pretty good Dallas team in week 3. The Raiders were not going to be turned around overnight by Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. And it was a tight game that went down to the final minute. But those were a couple of the games that we're excited about coming out of week 4 in the National Football League. And before I switch to baseball, the poll question, which we do every day. And you can vote on YouTube if that's your thing and you're watching it there streaming. It's brought to you by EMJ Marketing. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing Speakers Bureau, emjmarketing.com. What's going to be the better game on Monday Night Football tonight, because it is a doubleheader? Is it a battle of 0-3 teams here in South Florida? And the cat's out of the bag. I do live in South Florida as a Cowboys fan, not a Dolphins fan. It's the 0-3 New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins tonight in the first game, followed by the Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos. And 63% of respondents, you can also vote on Twitter at Rod Peterson Show on Twitter, which will always be Twitter to me, voting for the late game, the Bengals at the Broncos tonight. My two of my neighbors as I was pulling up to my home this morning. Harry and Ronnie were out in the street having a chat, and I said, hey, fellas, what are the Dolphins going to do tonight? And they both in unison answered, who cares? Who cares? That's how they feel about the Dolphins in South Florida right now. That's the big story, football. But as we move along to point 2 of the Quick Six show topics, Major League Baseball's postseason is about to start with some spicy wild card matchups. The American League features a classic rivalry between the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees with all games at Yankee Stadium. The Detroit Tigers face the Cleveland Guardians, seeking revenge after losing a big lead in September. In the National League, the LA Dodgers host the Cincinnati Reds, and the San Diego Padres take on the Chicago Cubs. And the Toronto Blue Jays, which is always going to be the preferred MLB team of this show, because we are original Canadians, the Toronto Blue Jays, Seattle Mariners, Milwaukee Brewers, and Philadelphia Phillies have earned byes to the division series. And I am the guy that will always tell you when I can, told you. Last week when the Blue Jays went into the swoon and lost the midweek series at home against the Boston Red Sox, their second to last series of the season, of the regular season, everybody was panicking. They almost lost the division lead to the Yankees, but they didn't. And I said, the Blue Jays are going to come out of this. They're going to win the pennant, and you're all going to forget about all the hand-wringing you're doing right now. So chill out. And that's exactly what happened. So I like to say, told you, it doesn't happen that often. So when it does, I like to pass it along. Hour 2 is brought to you in part by Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon. As we air across Canada on the Game Plus television network, Pump Jack's Cathedral in Regina and Pump Jack's Weyburn. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. Point for the Quick Six show topics. We are big CFL guys here. I was thinking about this the other day. Las Vegas was home to a CFL team. Who would ever forget the Las Vegas Posse back in the day? And the Las Vegas Outlaws of the XFL. So we talk more about this in hour 1. We spent a lot of time on week 17 in the Canadian Football League. That's where they're at. They're just coming out of week 17 in the CFL. There was a Friday night doubleheader. The Montreal Alouettes beat the Calgary Stampeders 38-20 in the early game. In the late game in Vancouver, the BC Lions beat Toronto 27-22. And then on Saturday, another doubleheader. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are hosting the Grey Cup in Winnipeg in November at Princess Auto Stadium, destroyed the Hamilton Tiger Cats 40-3. And in Edmonton, at Commonwealth Stadium before 30,000 fans, the Edmonton Elkamos, we'll explain later, upset the Saskatchewan Roughriders 27-25. We dug all through that last hour, but the CFL just went through a rash of rule changes just last week that will be implemented over the next 2 years. That's what everybody's talking about in Canada as it relates to the CFL. I'm going to pause for a second. Navy Don writes in from Ottawa, and he says, late to the show, as a lapsed high school defensive back, the last 5 minutes of that game was crap defensive football. Tackle and cover. Is it really that hard? You sound like a coach. We're talking about the Sunday night game here? Yeah, 40-40. Yeah, we like to see defensive football, but we like to see points too, and I think the NFL does as well. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta, writes in and says, so the Super Bowl favorites Packers lose to the Browns and tie the Cowboys? Who's the new Super Bowl favorite? Because they aren't from Wisconsin. It's the 4-0 Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, I appreciate Brent from Wellington, Florida, writing, and he's the gentleman joining me on this boat catching a 40-pound sailfish a couple of years ago here in South Florida. Brent writes in, he says, Rod, you're living in South Florida. You need to catch up on your Latin music. Puerto Rican music star Bad Bunny was Happy Gilmore's caddy in Happy Gilmore 2. My bad. Found out last night that Bad Bunny was going to be the halftime act. And that might have, for the upcoming Super Bowl in San Francisco. And I feel like that would have been probably a better poll question. It's bad on me Not what's going to be the better Monday Night Football game, because we already know the answer to that. The question is, should I be ashamed for not knowing who Bad Bunny is? I am a little ashamed that I don't know who Bad Bunny is. I'm sure he'll be fantastic. And as we roll along here on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network plus Game Plus, although they've all heard my stories on Game Plus, the staff and our Game Plus viewers, we had a big time at the Super Bowl in Vegas a couple years ago. I hosted events there. We don't have time to get into all of that, but it was fun at the Clark County Amphitheater in North Vegas. Regarding the overtime on Sunday Night Football, Carlos in Indianapolis writes in, he says, the NFL has a hard time getting overtime right. These days, OT seems to be more suited to end in ties. 10-minute period, both teams have to possess. Other modifications to sudden death. Well, again, I'd heard from people that were leaving AT&T Stadium last night just in not a trance per se, but they didn't know. Jerry Jones didn't get bragging rights over Micah. Micah didn't get bragging rights over Jerry. And it's not anybody's fault. It was a hella exciting game, 40-40, but why don't they just go to college rules or CFL rules and be done with it? Flip a coin, scrimmage from the plus 35-yard line. Why is it so hard? You already adopted the XFL kickoff rules, and that seems to be going fine. 77% of kickoffs are being returned this year in the NFL. That's the most in 20 years. You got the kickoff thing figured out. Why can't they figure out the overtime thing? Kevin the Medium writes in. He's one of our sales guys of the Rod Peterson Show. He resides in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Oh, it's 1:11. That's another thing that we do every day. Recognizing 1:11 or 11:11 Mountain, if that's where you're at. Visualize a positive outcome to your current quagmire. What do you got to lose? And I'll also tell you that my other career is as a mental health and addiction recovery coach. Been doing that for a long time as well. Yeah, we have a lot to figure it out about each other here. And we've got new viewers checking in, talking about oil in the Middle East. I'm not interested in that. We don't dabble in politics here. I'm not that dumb to do that. Point 4, the quick 6 show topics. I don't think we're going to get to all 6 here, but point 4, Leon Draisaitl had 2 goals and 2 assists as the Edmonton Oilers beat the visiting Vancouver Canucks 4-3 in the NHL preseason Sunday. Connor McDavid had a goal and 2 assists for the Oilers, while Trent Frederick had a goal and an assist. Stephen Holiday scored on the power play, and Ole Licksell scored into an empty net as the Ottawa Senators defeated the New Jersey Devils 2-0 in NHL preseason play Sunday at the Videotron Center in Quebec City. We'll be talking NHL preseason and regular season hockey with Shane Hnidy of the Vegas Golden Knights coming up in the next segment from the television crew. By the way, hour 2 is brought to you in part by CoolBet. Claim your welcome bet bonus up to $200 with a promo code RP200 at coolbet.com. Canadian viewers only. Sorry, it's geo-fenced into the USA. I'll come back to the hockey in a second, but point 5, Rory McIlroy helped Europe win the Ryder Cup Sunday and then called out the hostile New York crowd for, quote, unacceptable and abusive behavior, unquote. Over his 5 matches at Bethpage Black, McIlroy endured a torrent of insults about everything from his personal life to past failures on the golf course. People shouted as he lined up to swing and putt. Someone threw a beer at his wife. He noted that the hecklers were a minority in a crowd of, quote, true golf fans. Not a golf guy here, just so you know. And you know this is a big story when my phone's blown up from my friends about golf because they know I don't follow golf. I don't like golf. I wasn't even watching any of this. And I'm just thinking, well, number one, it's New York. What did you expect? You've been getting them drunk all day. Canada, USA versus Europe. And booze. And Rory McIlroy is a bit of a powder keg to begin with. What did you think was going to happen? And one of the biggest, I have a lot of problems with golf. It's expensive. It ticks me off, and I'm bad at it. Why would I do it? But the fact that you're not allowed to say anything when they're lining up a putt. What about the field goal kicker? when the whole stadium's going nuts, he's trying to line that up. Or the guy or gal throwing the free throw, and they're all waving those wavy things like you see in the pool at them. That's okay, but you can't do it for golf. I don't get it. Personally, I don't have a problem with any of what went on in New York. Point 6 is randoms. That's always fun. Whatever you'd like to talk about. We'll get to that later on here in the hour. Our text line is brought to you by Western Dodge, 902-518-3033. You can reach us. Experience the Western Dodge difference. Local, reliable, and driven to find the perfect vehicle for you. Again, you can text us right here in the studio, 902-518-3033. It's our first day on the air across Nevada here on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. As always, on Game Plus Television, live across Canada and 32 U.S. states. Also streaming live on YouTube, podcast, and 1700 AM Mission Radio. We'll be right back.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
RP Show continues, brought to you in part by Outlaw Communications, where creativity isn't a hobby, it's a way of life. And a very exciting day for us. We're broadcasting live across Canada, Game Plus Television, 32 U.S. states. But it's our first day on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network across the beautiful state of Nevada. Speaking of beautiful, our good friend Hnidy joins us from the Golden Knights broadcast crew. How you doing, Knides?
I'm good, Roddy. How you doing? It's that exciting time of year, right?
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Knides. One of my longest friends in this trade of sports is Shane Hnidy. We go back a real long ways. And do you have the feeling of New Year, the new season? I'm sure that optimism abounds at T-Mobile Arena.
It certainly does, and I'm not a big fan of preseason. Never was when I played, and there's a necessity to it. I'm looking forward to next year when they drop to 4, and we're starting the season at this time next year. But that said, I think kind of spoiled here. A lot of the preseason games we go to, the home games, there's some packed stands. People are excited. A lot of talk about what's the team going to look like. Well, that's the thing. We really haven't seen the team all put together for a game yet. That usually happens the last two games they play in the preseason. But a lot of excitement, certainly with the arrival of Mitch Marner here in Las Vegas.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to get to this year's Golden Knights in a second, but I love, as you know, talking about your career. Pride of Neepawa, Manitoba, 550 games. I learn something new, Knides, every time I look you up. You'd think I would have this memorized, but Ottawa, Nashville, Florida, Atlanta, Anaheim, Boston, Minnesota, then back to Boston. I didn't realize that your last game was after you won the Stanley Cup in 2011. What was your thinking there? You're like, I'm just going to ride off into the sunset. That's a hell of a last game to have.
That's it. Yeah, that's to be there and to be part of that. And I would say it's great to do that. When you play professional sports, and especially at the high level, you don't really see an end in sight. I think it was more my body telling me I was done than anything that summer. And to be honest, it was the opportunity. I wanted to still play another year. I felt I had another year in me, but an opportunity to get into what I do now was with the Winnipeg Jets, who had just moved after that win to Atlanta, to Winnipeg, my home province. And I got a call and an opportunity to get into broadcasting and being an analyst on radio. And it's turned out to be a pretty good decision for me here sitting. This is year 16 now of broadcasting.
Yeah. You've done more games broadcasting than playing. I'm sure you've thought about that. And tell me, please, compare winning a Stanley Cup as a player to winning a Stanley Cup as a broadcaster, as you did with the Golden Knights. Both great, but I'm sure far different feelings.
There really is. And it's funny. I just had this conversation the other day. I've been fortunate enough to win as a player. Certainly biggest accomplishment you can do to play. It's the dream of every guy that laces up and has dreams of playing first in the NHL and then winning the Stanley Cup. So, that's one. Winning with this team and their ability to do it in 6 years, a new franchise, extremely incredible, magical, and great to be along for the ride. The one that kind of, to me, the season that might be right up there, which is the inaugural season here in Vegas. And we're coming up on the terrible tragedy of that the anniversary of it here in 1 October. But that first year with what happened there, this new team, this band of misfits coming in and making a run to the final, like, it was unheard of. It's hard to believe it was a reality looking back on it. So that one I would put right up there with both those wins. It was such a special season to be part of what happened here in Las Vegas that year, with everything that went on around it, and then this team coming in and just it was like a healing. It was just bonding everybody together, and now that connection is here between the Golden Knights and this city.
Well, you know what's awesome about all of that, with you going to the Stanley Cup and just the way the city rallied around you, and we all remember the horrible tragedy and your opening night, all of that. But, with your general manager, Kelly McCrimmon, who I've known since I was 16, has everybody else figured out now, Knides, that you're always going to be a contender when Kelly McCrimmon's running the show? I was telling everybody, it's like they weren't listening. And the 1 year you missed the playoffs, you said on this show, you're like, if you're missing your two best players, anybody's going to struggle to miss the playoffs. Yeah. And it was Mark Stone, and who was the other one that you were missing that year? you remember?
Oh boy, you're going to press my memory.
Either or. It was Stone and one of your other big guns, but that was the reason. But the one thing I hear about Golden Knights fans is that they're spoiled. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Well, you can use the term, but that's they're spoiled, I guess, because the team came, and they've had immediate success for a long time. They're not like the storied franchises where there's the ebbs and the flows, the ups and the downs. Those haven't come, and credit to them. I think with that, if people think you're a spoiled fan, there's a little bit of jealousy in that, and it is a new fan base, and the team is competitive. It's hard to think of year one when they hit the finals. Probably outside of that, every year they've been considered a contender. And last year, I didn't think they got the credit. People that kind of overlooked them. They went and won the Pacific. This year, they're not getting overlooked from a lot of people. And it is hard to predict because there's so many good teams. It is so hard to win in the National Hockey League just to get to playoffs and then winning the Stanley Cup. And I know you're down in FLA, and what they've done going 3 years in a row, just incredible. Same thing when Tampa did it, just to get to that final. And it is a long grind. It starts with 82 games this year, the regular season, and you got to have luck, you got to have health, you got to have a few things that go your way. But certainly the roster comes into play, and they've got as good a roster as anybody.
Well, you just mentioned winning the pennant last year in the Pacific Division. You were a contender, Knides, before you signed Mitch Marner. Like, I think the Leafs are going to drop 5 to 10 points without this guy. You've been around him. He's been on the ice in camp. What's this team going to do with that guy?
Well, I think right now they've got him with Jack Eichel, and I think it's going to, maybe force Eichel to shoot a little more. I think his goal totals can go up to the 40 mark, no problem. He's got an incredible shot. You're talking about a highly elite, a top 20 guy in the National Hockey League, if not higher, one of the top wingers, elite offensive abilities, and maybe underrated on what he can do defensively. One of the top penalty killers. He's first over the boards for years in Toronto, whether power play, penalty kill, last minute of the game, needing a goal at the end of the game. He plays in all scenarios. I think he's come here now, and a kid who grew up in Toronto, we've been in that market. If you play there and you have success, it's unbelievable. The fans, certainly the passion they have for the Toronto Maple Leafs across Canada, and certainly in that Toronto area. But he's been around it his whole life. I think there's something to be said about coming here and getting a fresh start in a sense for him. And I'm excited to see what he can do. You can't deny his ability. I'm certainly we've seen what goes on with the media and how passionate they are there. And I've seen this before. Certain players get this. Everybody said, "Oh, good luck with him." Well, I remember they said that about Jack Eichel coming from Buffalo. Different scenario. With the neck and the injury and wanting to go, but very similar. Buffalo's, "Oh, you guys can deal with that." Sure. Okay, we'll deal with it. Came here. One of the most competitive, great men I've met is Jack Eichel. And I think Mitch Marner it's been brief right now, but he has been terrific to deal with. He's motivated. I think, and then it's just both those guys. They're top elite skilled players, and it's going to be exciting to see what they can do, whether together or, for Bruce Cassidy, he's got lots of things to move around. As of now, Mark Stone, he's playing with Carlson and Riley Smith. That's line 3 if you want to mark it. That's a pretty tough matchup. And, you got Hurdle, Dorofeev, Saad, and then, that top line. So it's a deep lineup. They've restructured. They've got, I think one of the big ones, Nick Hague for Colton Sisson and Jeremy Lauzon. They wanted to identify a fourth line and one that's going to forecheck heavy. And Colton Sisson's the veteran guy, comes down the middle and play with Brett Howden, who had 20 goals last year, and Keegan Colasar. So the depth is there. Now you need a lot of things to fall in place over the next 82 games, but certainly they looked ready to go and again, motivated to be a contender for the Cup.
Vegas Golden Knights color commentator Shane Hnidy is with us on Game Plus Television and the Silver State Sports Entertainment Network. And we've got your fans have some questions for you. John in Winnipeg says, "It's great you have Knides on. He's got the cool threads." I got to say, Knides, you do. You've always had your own style. I said, you're like the Nikki Sixx of hockey. Can you talk about, probably in Vegas, you would fit in a little more with your flow than Winnipeg, but I don't know, man. Who dresses you?
Well, it started, on my own, and I think it's evolved. Now that I've been in Vegas, I deal with Stitched here, and I have a girl named Megan who works there. She's tremendous, and I love their stuff. It's funny. The good thing about Vegas is you can push a couple outfits. You can push that line of, and what I love about style is, may not be for everybody. And I think you got to have a little uniqueness, a little bit of your own kind of taste into it. And if you're happy with it, great. Who cares what other people think? And I think that's the one thing I learned early is if I like it, I'm going to wear it. I've moved more to comfort. I love that they're making suits now that are like, those it feels like track suits. So for me, as I'm starting to, as 50's right around the corner, Rod, I think I'm more like, it's like not the leisure suits the old guys wear. I'm not to that point yet, but they make suits now that are just as comfortable and they're coming out with patterns. So yeah, it's funny you mention that. I just did my suit shopping for the year last week. So I'm excited to move on. I've had to get rid of some. That's probably the one thing I get grinded about here is cleaning out my closet a little more often.
Well, hey, you've never cared what people think. That's what makes you so unique and so successful.
Yeah.
Number two, come to Florida. I'll show you some leisure suits, man. When you guys come here, I'll take you around.
That's right. Yeah.
It's the leisure suit capital of North America. Allie in Texarkana writes in. She says, I love bold suits. They are fantastic. Follow Hnidy. He's the man. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in. He says, tear-jerking final debut for Marc-Andre Fleury in Pittsburgh the other night. And I don't really talk to the Vegas people about Flower.
Yeah.
Because for obvious reasons. But what are your thoughts on the way that he went out? And I mean, he's clear Hall of Famer. I mean, what do you think when you hear the name Marc-Andre Fleury?
Well, just a terrific human. He was great. What he did here, he was near the end of his career. You got to remember, but talked about that year one. They don't beat the Winnipeg Jets without Marc-Andre Fleury and what he did in that series. Tremendous. And I think he was the perfect thing they needed for, a franchise here. His personality certainly has been talked about, beloved teammate by all. And, I think for him going back to Pittsburgh makes sense. That's where it was for him, Sid and Letang and Gino, all those guys back together, him playing one more period. And, I just hope, I know he's a competitor. I hope this is it, right? He's done everything. He kind of had his last year where he went around and celebrating. Now he signs with the Penguins, plays a period. I don't want to see in January all of a sudden. Well, I don't think he could. It'd make no sense now after he's kind of signed with the Penguins. He can't go and play somewhere else. So for him, just as you mentioned, a Hall of Fame career and got to probably end it the way he wanted, which not many guys do. Going back to the team that drafted him number one overall, plays a period with the guys he won Stanley Cups with, the core of that team still playing. I think a pretty special way to end your career. And rare for someone to be able to do it, but he was able to do it, and wish him all the best on his next adventure.
That same Allie in Texarkana writes in. She says, he is a perfect human. Love Flower. He's in I guess he's out of the NHL now, but him and Bob are like my guys. As you know, I'm a goalie guy. And speaking of Bob, I got to get your take on the Florida Panthers. I was with them all day Saturday. They were talking about who's going to fill the void of Barkov being out. You don't fill a guy's void like that. But they did refer to Marchand, a guy that you won a Stanley Cup with. At 38, he just signed a 6-year deal. How long do you see him playing, and what do you think he's capable of here this year with the Panthers and this team overall?
Don't underestimate him. I think age is something it's harder to fight, but I think he does a good job maintaining himself. And he's always been one of those guys, and you have him. I think, remember this is rookie year. The more you doubt him, the better he's going to be. So I think he constantly, I think certain thing drives players, and that drives him. He's always played on the edge. That's what makes him such an ultimate competitor. When he started fourth line with the Boston Bruins, playing with Sean Thornton and Greg Campbell. He was part of the fourth line, and there's a story of him going in and telling Claude Julien, "Yeah, I can score 20 if you play me." So he that's early in his career. Obviously, he's matured a ton and become just a great leader and a guy that in that room. Unless you have him in that room, looking for the outside, he's hated. But in that room, those guys know the value he has, and I think his experience. As you mentioned, you're not going to replace a Barkov. There's just no way. You can do it by committee the best you can. They're going to have to look at options down the middle. They're going to have to find a way to stay in it with Kachuk out too. If they can get to playoffs, though, it'll be interesting because, they're saying, 7-9 for Barkov? Well, these guys nowadays with the sports science and the healing, you can get to playoffs in April. You might get a little bit of a bump then, but that's down the road. We can't foretell the one thing I can't do is predict the future, but certainly I think the Panthers they'll find a way. They've got a culture there that they've built. Obviously, going the final 3 years in a row, winning twice. There's no quit, so they'll find a way. It'll be interesting to watch how it all plays out.
Scott in Vancouver asks, Shane, do you believe Atlanta deserves the NHL again?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, they're expanding. I think when you look at the market there, it is massive. I played there for 2 years. I will tell you this. I was fortunate. We won the Southeast Division. The year I was there was the only year they made playoffs. Loved living there. It is such a massive area. I just think you can't compete downtown with what they're planning on doing, I believe, in Alpharetta and putting out there. There is a thirst for hockey there. I haven't been back in years, but I think it could work. I really do. But you can't be downtown competing, certainly with colleges, the college sports, the NBA. I think the NBA and Braves, they get along, but it's still, I think college is the show there. So I think you got to strategically place it. I'd like to believe it can work because I loved my time at Atlanta. I liked being a Thrasher for 2 years, and I was fortunate to we had a team that was pretty incredible. When you go back and look at the roster, we won the Southeast. We lost 4 straight to the Rangers, but the likes of Keith Kachuk and Ilya Kovalchuk and Marian Hossa and pretty special group. But it'll be interesting to see. We'll see if the league expands, but I'd certainly put Atlanta as one of those spots, I believe, just because I think if it's done right and they have the right I think anything nowadays, right? If you have the right ownership, like, look at what's going on in Utah. You get the right owners that are willing and committed that can strategically put it in place. I believe it can work.
Well, it's funny. If it happens, which I think we all believe it will, it'll probably happen fast because it's funny. Everybody's talking Houston and these other places, even Quebec City, and all of a sudden Salt Lake City, what? Out of nowhere. Yeah. All of a sudden they got a team within months, right? I mean, when they want it, it moves real fast. Yeah. Well, we got 90 seconds here, but like Arizona, sounds like Shane Doan is involved in getting a team back there. Would you like to see it?
Yeah. Again, another area. You have so many people there, but the building's in the wrong spot. You can't be out in Glendale. They need something. And, I believe whether it's Scottsdale, I know they looked at Tempe. That didn't work. But I think in that Scottsdale area, you've got to be more central where you can draw from that large area of people. There's certainly still a big fan base there. It'll be interesting to see if they can make it work. Obviously, there's a passion for hockey there, and it started when the Coyotes came and they grew hometown players. You look at Austin Matthews, and I've seen it here in Vegas. The sport has grown massively since the Golden Knights came, and you look forward to that one day when maybe there's a first overall pick here. It was a Nevada-born Las Vegas kid.
When Vegas born will actually mean, well, it does mean something, but to have somebody born there playing, you know what I mean. Nides, it means so much that you would be our first guest here on the Silver State Sports Entertainment Network. Thanks for coming on. I hope to see you soon.
My honor, my man. Have a good year, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you, partner.
Take
the
care.
Great Shane Hnidy of the Vegas Golden Knights television broadcast crew. We'll be back in a moment. We're live on the Game Plus television network, of course, the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, YouTube Live, podcast, and Mission Radio.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. The RP Show continues. John writes in from Winnipeg. He says, we need Shane on more often now that the RP Show broadcasts in Vegas. Well, you will. I try not to wear the guys out. Okay, which reminds me. So yes, we are very gratefully on Game Plus Television live daily at noon. We're on Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network every night at 6 p.m. Pacific. I see Ken in Mississauga writes in. He says, RP Show looking right at home on the online Fox 5 Las Vegas programming schedule. That's pretty exciting. Hey, producer Corey. So last week, I was sitting here thinking, who do I know with a Las Vegas Raiders tie, the NFL team? Oh, Mark Trestman. He was their offensive coordinator from 01 to 03. So I called Tress. He's in Naples, Florida. And he was like, if you know him at all, he's very zen guy. And he's like, hey, Rod, I'm assuming you're calling to talk about the CFL rule changes, and I just can't come on your show and talk about it, right? I'm not confident in what I would say. And I'm like, well, actually, I'd rather have you come on and talk about Raiders stories from your time with the Oakland Raiders. Oh, well, I can do that. But he's such a great guy. So I was talking to an agent later in the day, and I was talking to Moose Dupont about this morning. They're like, you should have got him on if he was so emotional. And I'm like, but he said he didn't want to come on because he's emotional. Like, are you not listening? I don't do that to my friends. So Mark Trestman, the Raiders offensive coordinator from 01 to 03, will be on this show down the line once he calms down at the rash of changes to the Canadian Football League rules and fields, which he loves so much and won 3 Grey Cups as the head coach in Montreal and Toronto. Rich in Edmonton writes, and he says, beautiful Naples, Florida. That's the other thing. Tress he was with the Cleveland Browns, the Raiders, NC State, all over the NCAA, Miami Hurricanes. Just mentioned his championships with the in the CFL, and a head coach of the Chicago Bears. He would not use the R word. Retired. He wouldn't say it because he's like any old football guy. 1 sec, please. Somebody's at the door. He's like any old football guy. He's like, I'm not going to. Somebody might call. So you're not saying no to anything. Well, Rich in Edmonton says, I'd love some Raiders stories. Well, we're going to get that. Probably would be a lot easier to get PA Raiders stories with Shane Hnidy, by the way, where he and I were together in the 90s in the Western Hockey League. By the way, a sports update, the best of 3 MLB wildcard series get underway Tuesday with 4 games. In the American League, the New York Yankees host the Boston Red Sox, while the Detroit Tigers visit the Cleveland Guardians. In the National League, the San Diego Padres visit the Chicago Cubs, while the LA Dodgers host the Cincinnati Reds. We will always be the Blue Jays show, or at the very least until MLB does show up in Vegas. But we are original Canadians here, just like Hnidy. The Blue Jays have a few days off after winning their first AL East division title in 10 years. Jays had 15 hits and a 13-4 win over the visiting Tampa Bay Rays Sunday. Jays will face either the Red Sox or Yankees in the AL Division Series starting Saturday in Toronto. It's a Monday night football doubleheader, dun, 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 including one in Miami, where the Dolphins host the New York Jets in a battle of 0-3 teams. As I said to my neighbors Harry and Ronnie here in South Florida, what's the Dolphins going to do tonight? Who cares? Elsewhere, the 2-1 Bengals visit the 1-2 Broncos, and that's the poll question. What's going to be the better game for EMJ marketing? And running away with it is the nightcap Bengals at Broncos. We'll see. Just Dolphins fans enjoying the fact that they're actually favored in a game against the hapless New York Jets tonight, the Gotham Green. The sports update is brought to you by Ultimate Fan Zone. Dressed like a fan, not a spectator, Ultimate Fan Zone has everything you need. Jerseys, hats, hoodies, and more. Start shopping now at ultimatefanzone.ca. It's the best sporting merchandise play out there. We will be back with overtime right after this. 902-518-3033 is the Western Dodge text line. Your last chance to get your questions and comments in, or the YouTube stream as well. We'll be back in a moment here on Game Plus Television Network, the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, YouTube Live, podcast, and 1700 AM Mission Radio. We'll be right back.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon
and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. All right, welcome back, everybody. It's the final segment of the hour. Doesn't it go fast? It's brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It is an amusement park for hockey players, as we are fond of saying, as they like to say, Randy and Michelle at Overtime Hockey Lanes. Baseball has batting cages. Golf has driving ranges. Why wouldn't hockey have shooting lanes? They thought of it, they invented it, and now they're rocking and rolling with it. 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Tell them the RP Show sent you. It's the always fun time of the program, viewer takeover. 902-518-3033 is the text line to get at us. Ron writes in and he says, remember when I said a few months ago about the problems in Las Vegas? What do you think is going to happen with the new stadium and no people? I would say, Ron, just worry about Ron. We've known for years that the NFL teams don't need to sell one ticket, and they're still making, at that time we said millions, now it's billions, without even selling any tickets. Don't worry about that. Secondly, I understand that the numbers are down in Las Vegas. Trust me, I do, but they went through this in 08, 09. You Nevadans, you Las Vegans will remember that. They will rebound. It's a little like Super Bowl. They were probably overpricing everything. Last year's Super Bowl in New Orleans was the first year that they didn't sell out. There were 3,500 tickets shy of a sellout. Why do you think that was? Probably because the cheapest ticket was $12,000. It'll come back. Just worry about Ron. Allie in Texarkana, the aforementioned Allie writes in. She says, I'm ready for some B-Ray on the RP Show. There will be a lot of hockey talk here, more in this hour of the RP Show daily, specifically on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. Today, Shane Hnidy of the Golden Knights, gracious enough to be our first guest. Tomorrow, Alan May of the Washington Capitals television crew. Had a great chat with Al on the phone yesterday. On Wednesday, I see some viewers writing in about the Moose, the original co-host of this show, founder of this show, original owner and president and CEO. He's in Toronto now doing other things. But he's going to come on Wednesday and make his Las Vegas television debut and talk a lot of NHL and NFL things. So Brian Ray is the TV host of the Dallas Stars. I'll put him on my list. We're working our way through it. It's fun times. DG writes in. Hey, DG, who, by the way, woo. DG was at our Super Bowl party that we threw in Las Vegas, Sober Bowl, 2 Super Bowls ago at the Clark County Amphitheater in North Las Vegas. You thought I forget, didn't you, DG? He writes in on the Western Dodge text line. He says, morning, guys. It's a small thing, but can sports leagues go away from this bracket format like we're seeing in the MLB playoffs? Same thing happens in the NHL playoffs, and I don't like it. The top team should always play the bottom team. Reward regular season success. Just my thoughts. No, originally, DG, I would have said, you watch this show every day, you know what I would say. Can we stop whining? But I'm not going to say that here now. Everybody's making their concerns known. So make yours known. Similar to the overtime last night on Sunday Night Football. It ends 40-40. And as Chris Sims said this morning on NBC Sports Radio, the Cowboys had the ball for 6 minutes and the Packers only got it for 4. That's not fair. They just tweaked the NFL overtime rules to move the playoff overtime into the regular season. Now they're going to have to tweak it again? How about stopping them on defense and holding them to a 3-and-out? Then you'll have all the time in the world for your own drives. But anyways, it's sports. It's like belly buttons, and everybody has one opinion. So yeah, we're not going to poo-poo anything. Paul writes in, he is in Winnipeg watching on Game Plus TV. 2 great comments from Paul. He says, I'm done betting on Baltimore. You and me both, brah. Which, again, we're introducing ourselves to all these new viewers across Nevada. I do a thing called sport betting. It's like sport fishing, where you throw the fish back. I pick games, but don't put money on it. It's far safer for a guy like me. But I went back and looked at our picks from Friday. Deal or no deal. Ravens were favored by 2.5 going into KC and got trounced. And Lamar got hurt or pulled, depending on who you believe. Saw this morning on one of the networks, the graphic across the bottom of the screen said, are the Ravens still Super Bowl contenders? Why are you asking questions you already know the answer to? Of course they're not. They're junk. Now, things can change. We are seeing that in the CFL on the tail end of the regular season, but I had a Buffalo-Detroit Super Bowl. I'm staying away from the Ravens. The numbers that Lamar Jackson is putting up this year are godlike, just like last year. But they can't win. It's not Lamar's problem, or it is his problem. It's not his fault. And at some point, as I sit here and think about Nevada sports greats, I want to get Cody Fajardo on, Nevada Wolfpack star out of Reno, because he's a guy that elevates his teammates. What do we guarantee in life? Death, taxes, and Cody Fajardo winning. Another Nevada guy. Lamar does, his numbers are great, but he doesn't seem to be elevating everybody around him. And there is no fantasy stat. There's no stat for that. What a guy does in the locker room with his teammates. And it's just not happening for Lamar. I think we're all wondering if it will ever happen for Lamar. Some guys have it. Tom Brady has that. He doesn't have the best metrics. Why do you think he went in the 6th round? Anyways, a very successful program today. Thank you, Nevada, for having us, and the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. As always, Game Plus. They are our overlord, where we replay a couple of times daily every day and are live at noon Eastern. We'll see you tomorrow here on the RP Show.
Good.